Hello everyone, I'm Sunil. Happy to introduce you to my YouTube channel Tech Basics. The concept behind to start this particular channel is to make you all perfect with the basics of all the computer programming languages. So my experience is if you are perfect with the basics or the fundamentals of a particular programming languages, you will gain more and more interest to learn that particular language and to mastery that particular language. I have seen students are the first time learners when they are not perfect with the basics of any computer programming language, they do not feel like studying or learning that particular language. It is easy for us to earn the money if we lose the money, but it is not easy to gain the interest if we lose the interest right in our first or the second class. The reason we see most of the students when they learn this particular language for a period of 1 week, they do feel like dropping out of that particular subject. That is all because they have not gained the interest to learn that particular language. So with this particular statement, I will take you to the fundamentals of programming languages. So, as I said, whenever the fundamentals are strong, crystal clear, then there is no chance that anyone can stop you learning and going with the mastery of that particular language. So in this particular channel, I am going to teach you the basics of a language called C, C++, Java, Python, and I will also try to cover up the concepts of RDBMS along with the advanced concepts of machine learning, deep learning, and artificial intelligence. So as we all know, whenever a student joins the first year of engineering, irrespective of the branch that you choose, you are supposed to study a language called C. Now here a lot of questions may arise. Why we have to learn C? How many such languages are available? How long we have to study these languages? And what is the use of this language? So let's understand the basics of all this. So whenever we talk about a computer programming language, we have to learn a computer programming language in order to communicate with the computer. So whenever you have to make your computer to perform a task, it is definite that you have to communicate with the computer. So the communication with the computer happens by providing instructions to the computer in order to perform a particular task. So when you are supposed to provide the instructions, your instructions should be written in a particular language. The languages are classified into low-level language, high-level language, and middle-level language. So when you talk about low-level language, the language that was used in our first generation computers, wherein we are supposed to write the instructions in the form of zeros and ones. So when you write the instruction in the form of zeros and ones or bunch of zeros and ones, it is very difficult for a human being to remember that particular statement or the particular instruction. So in order to avoid that, we have developed a language called middle level language, wherein instead of we making use of zeros and ones, here we are going to make use of abbreviations, wherein you can write add a comma b, multiply a with b, and so on. This language can also be referred as assembly language. But because of the not having flexibility with this, we have developed again a language which looks similar to that of English, what you can call it as high level language, wherein we are going to provide the instructions to the computer which are more similar to that of an English language. So by this, it becomes easy for anyone to remember that particular instruction and so on. So before we go into details of this, let's understand some of the terms over here which we are going to use in our learning of C language. The terms like what a program is, what is a software, why do I need to write a program. As I said, a program is wherein you are going to provide set of instructions to the computer by making use of a particular high level language. These set of instructions, when you execute it, when you give it to the computer, and when the computer understands, it is going to give you the result that you are in need of, or it is going to perform the task that you are in need of. So a program we can define as set of instructions which are given in a particular sequence in order to make the computer to provide the desired result and so on, or to perform a particular task for us and so on. So when you write a program using a high level language, we all know our computer only understands, or the hardware only understands, something called zeros and ones, which is nothing but a binary language. Now the question that arises is, we as a human being, we are writing the code, we are writing the instructions in the form of high level language, whereas our computer understands only binary language. So in order to make computer understand what we write, what we all need to do is, we are supposed to make use of a translator in the middle. It is something like, if a person knows English and the other person knows only Hindi, then in order to make them to communicate, we are supposed to make use of something called a translator. So likewise over here, when you write a program using high level language, and when the hardware understands zeros and ones, your language has to be translated into zeros and ones. And this task is done by a translator, which are of two types. You can call the translator as interpreter, and you can make use of a translator called as compiler. So compiler and interpreter, these are two different softwares which will help us to translate a high level language into zeros and ones. Now again a question that comes is, what exactly we mean by a software? So when you write bunch of programs, or you can also call a program itself as a software. So compiler is a software, interpreter is a software. And what is the role of this particular software? The role of the software is to translate high level language into binary language. So then comes, what is the difference between an interpreter and a compiler? So as we know, interpreter is going to take the instructions which we write one after the other, and then it is going to translate into zeros and ones. Whereas a compiler picks up all the instructions that we write at a time and then converts into zeros and ones. So what makes the difference over here? The difference is, whenever you make use of a compiler, as it is going to pick up all the instructions at a time and then going to convert it, the process is going to be very fast. So that is how we are going to make use of, in order to translate a software called the compiler. So the remaining things we are going to discuss about C language, more details about C language and the fundamentals of C language in the next video. So I will also tell you here, to understand, you can understand the trends of different languages, which language is being used more in the market, which language is being used less in the market, by going with a particular site called Google Trends. So Google Trends will tell you which language is used more in the market and so on. So you can see over here, if you type here a language called C language, then you will see. So from 17th, that is 7th July 2019 to 7th July 2020, this is how people have made use of this particular language. In the similar way, you can also check for some other language like say Java. So you will see Java is also used from July 7, 2019 to July 7, 2020 in this particular fashion. So thereby you can understand which particular language is used mostly by the people in the market and so on. Thank you, and do subscribe to my channel in order to get the details about my next video. Thanks a lot.